Today's guest, an impressive small business owner who definitely exemplifies the type of success, lifestyle you can have here in Jax if you just dig in your roots and you get to work, right? He's the founder of HouseScan Inspections, which since launching in late 2017 has grown to a team of 20, which is pretty impressive, and has generated over 3,000 five-star Google reviews. They're on track this year to inspect 8,000 homes. If you're a first-time listener, be sure to subscribe, turn on your notifications because you don't want to miss a thing. Welcome to This is Jax, a hyper-local podcast. We're going to do our best. We're going to bring on successful business owners, the people who drive the cities, share a lot about what makes our city so great. So you can be confident and comfortable. This is a city that you want to call home. Help me welcome to the show, local business owner, Kurt Stein.
All right. Appreciate it, man.
Man.
What an intro.
It's pretty impressive. Like, honestly, like the Google reviews, I know I was texting you recently. It was like, how is this possible? Show me your ways, right? So I think as a business owner, like we could probably look at a lot of stats, business owners, and like being able to capture reviews from your clientele is like one that everybody wants to learn.
Super important.
For sure. Yeah. Any short, give me the one sentence tip on that. I think.
Oh boy. I would just say you got to do a great job.
Just do a great job.
And then you're much more likely to get a customer review.
That's it. Just focus on the work, focus on the quality of the product.
Exactly.
You know what, Kurt, you got a lot going on, some different stuff. We'll definitely get into it all. You know, like you and I talked before, the premise of the show, we're curious about our city, Jacksonville, from the perspective of people who own businesses, people who decided to get established here. What was it about Jax that you fell in love with?
Yeah. So good question. I think that, I could probably fall in love with wherever I'm at, figure it out and enjoy, whatever city or town or state that I end up in. I'm from Pennsylvania, so I lived a few different spots and I ended up here after college. And, early on it was, I just moved here for a job. And then, really once I started getting some roots planted, bought a property and then a second property. And then I met my now wife and, started a business eventually. Those things have like really put my roots down. And then, as I've met more people and, I've become more involved in the community and just in the city, my love for Jacksonville has exploded. So, I think, to answer that, I think is like really tough. There's not one thing. It's a lot. I mean, there's so much to love about Jacksonville.
Okay, cool. So, and I can kind of relate. Like Jacksonville wasn't really on my radar. Yeah, it was. I just kind of ended.
I knew nothing about Jacksonville growing up. From Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
It's not. I mean, I don't know. It's not. This. I guess I lived up in the Midwest for a little bit. I was from South Florida and then moved to Midwest and then back to South Florida. But like, again, didn't know. I just happened to like. Oh, I can afford the college here. Yeah. Let me go to school here. So that was how I kind of got there. So
one thing I'll say, if I could add, is I remember in my mid-20s, so I'm 33 now, but in my early to mid-20s when I first moved here, most of my friends from back home, the sky is gray every single day. And it rains just about every day or every other day. And it's not like the quick 5-minute rain that we get here. It's like all day, every day, and it's dreary. And during the winter, it's cold and wet and nasty. And I remember when I first moved here, and I was like, man, I don't miss Pennsylvania at all. Yeah. And then, I started like hearing people say, I live where you vacation. And that just like really like started to kind of click. And I was at the beach with friends and, going out to bars and restaurants and things with, friends at the beach. And just like loving life in my early to mid 20s. And man, that was a good time. It's Florida. So like Florida's different. And I know you know that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I would say, I understand that too, having family from up north still. And if we go up there, like even in the summertime, I go up there because you think it's just like an October to like May thing, which is still a pretty long time. But we'll go up there in the middle of summer and I'm like, why? I'm like, why am I depressed? And I'm like,
you don't see the sun for like 3 days. So at least here you see the sun just about every darn day.
Man, and it's been beautiful.
It has
recently
it's
here.
been a really nice spring.
Okay, cool. So yeah, like I said, it's kind of like a slow burn. Maybe for me, it was a slow burn. Like I didn't intend it. It just kind of fell into it. Sounds like you have the kind of same thing. But what kind of work was it that brought, you said it was work that brought you here.
Yeah.
So what kind of work was it you were doing?
So I worked for Kraft Foods, who owns, 100 different food brands around the country. And specifically, I got a job at Maxwell House. So the coffee factory downtown.
Yeah.
If you're familiar with Jacksonville, most people are like, I've never been inside that building. Like I see it there. It's this big old, 100-plus-year-old industrial building, and they don't do tours. They don't let visitors in. So only the employees are the only ones that have ever been in there.
So you've been in there.
I worked there for about 5 years when I first moved here, and great place to work. Like, man, I learned so much there. It was like my first real adult job, and man, I can't say enough good things about that place and just everything that I learned. But it's funny, like talking to people in Jacksonville, they're like, oh man, I drive past that factory, 10,000 times in my life, and I just want to get in there and see what it looks like. Is it a Willy Wonka chocolate factory? Which it kind of is. There's miles and miles of conveyor belts and piping and tubing and electric.
It's crazy.
It is
coffee.
Yeah, it's the only remaining Maxwell House coffee factory in the world. At one point there was 5 or 10 or whatever, in all the major, in a bunch of different cities across America. And they've, slowly, as the factories got more efficient, you didn't need as many factories to make all the coffee in all the different regions. So they've slowly consolidated everything. And then I think maybe 10 years ago, maybe 5 or 10 years ago, they just shut down the last one in San Francisco area, which don't get me on taxes and all that, but that place was taxed beyond belief, and they just couldn't operate. They couldn't compete at the cost advantage that we had in Florida. Right. So eventually Florida took all of the volume, and now it makes 100% of the Maxwell House coffee nationwide, worldwide.
And it's okay kind of to, you mentioned the tax stuff. I mean, that's kind of part of it too, right? The sunshine. And then I would have to guess you probably, as a business owner, see some of those same benefits, right? Would you say that was if you had a list of what reasons would I start a business here versus okay, I'm thinking about starting this business. Let me look at the map and see what, let me look at some data and look at some different towns to move in. Was that part of your decision making?
So no, but I would say if I knowing what I know now, if I started all over, yes, 100% it would be part of my decision making. And I would live in one of 3 places around the US. It'd be Florida, Texas, or Utah. I don't know about actually Tennessee is the one.
Yeah,
Tennessee,
I've been hearing that
Texas,
a lot too.
and Florida. Everyone's moving there because there's 0% federal or state income tax. And for me as an adult, I don't really know any different, right? I've only ever made money here. So but if I were to go back to Pennsylvania or wherever, New York, California, wherever, then you're just, you have the extra 4, 5, 8, 9% state income tax. It's man, I know what I bring home at the end of the day. And man, if I got an extra chunk of that cash taken out, go to Uncle Sam.
And you have employees, right, that you have to pay. And so there's certain different rules on how much taxes you have to pay per employee too. So it's not just the take home bit, but actually the core of running a business.
Yep.
I definitely would keep that in there. And when I think about, that kind of thing, definitely I think about it. So you were working at Maxwell Place. What do you think was it that how did, and I think we've talked about it in the past, but give for those listening that don't know you, obviously, or haven't heard the story, how did you end up, where did home inspections come from?
Yeah.
How did you decide to get into that?
So I was in manufacturing, in that factory setting, and I was doing engineering at first, and then I moved into operations. So I was running a team in the factory, and I eventually worked my way up to where I was, as a 26-year-old, I was running the entire facility for my shift. So all the different departments. And it was probably way too much responsibility for a 26-year-old. Looking back on it now, I'm what was I doing? I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and yet they trusted me. So
trusted you.
So anyways, that was a crash course into how to run a miniature business, not a miniature, like that was a massive business, but had obviously like a lot more support and systems and people in place to help. But
like you're learning how to manage a crew.
Yeah. Learning how to manage a crew, like solve problems, hit your numbers, like get the production like done that's required for the day, and like, working on continuous improvement projects to like improve efficiencies and cut waste and all that good stuff. So that was like my foundation for like running a business. Before I started my business, so I left Maxwell House. I kind of got poached by like another factory, worked there for like 30 days. That company got bought out and let go of everybody 30 days after I took the job. So
sweet.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool as a 26, 27-year-old. And then I took another job. That was like the worst job I've ever had in my entire life. Like 6 months of pure hell. I don't even want to talk about it because it was horrible.
Okay.
And then, at that point I had bought a few properties. So those were, cash flowing well. Like, I had always been pretty like frugal, saved my money up, put down a good chunk on the property so that, I'm making good money on them. So I was like pretty financially stable as like a 26, 27-year-old.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I had just been working my ass off for like since college. So 5-6 years of that. And I took some time off. I traveled for 6 months. I went to like Thailand. I went to Australia, just like reset the batteries.
Yeah.
And then
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was amazing. And so I was out to dinner with my wife and her whole family. They're all in real estate in some capacity. And we were all talking about, the properties we purchased and like rental properties. And then we started talking about home inspections, and across the room, like no lie, it was like complaint. Like everybody was just complaining. And so there was like a light bulb moment. It was like, man, there's opportunity here.
What if?
Yeah. And then my wife, her dad looked over and he's like, Kurt, working right now. Like, and at that point I had just started like looking back for manufacturing jobs. And they were plentiful. Like there was a bunch of different opportunities I can go. And, but he kind of kicked my butt. He's like, go start a home inspection company. So I looked into it. Like 2 days later, hopped on Sunbiz, got the company registered, and man, just started learning everything I could, and going 100 miles per hour ever since.
Yeah, that's awesome. So to kind of like recap that, before there was a thought to start a business, what I'm hearing is you were already investing in the area to begin with, right?
Yeah.
Investing in yourself, but investing through the city. So you're definitely seeing, that there was an opportunity there. And it seems like you've kind of walked into like a couple different opportunities that open them up. And these opportunities, of course, like I always feel that way, like you, where they exist in other cities, but they don't exist in every city, right? So there may be some other locations where you do that. But
yeah, I remember moving from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, down here, and I bought a house like 2 blocks from the beach for, a price that was like less than what I would have had to spend up there.
Yeah.
And it just like made sense. I was like, man, this is too good of a deal. Now that property's worth like, so three times what I bought for it. But, yeah, it's crazy.
That's one of the things property. And I think Jacksonville is kind of that's why you can still get good equity in our city, because it is on the low end compared to other major Florida cities.
Yeah.
And if you're coming from like a different region or a different area, then you can take that money and put it here for less than what it would be in those other cities. Yeah. But because
anything
of that,
in South Florida,
it's
sure.
appreciated, right, at a great amount here. So you're investing in the city, you're seeing a return on your investment already, and then kind of the opportunity just let itself. And so you jumped on all of the benefits of living in Florida, kind of just made it easy to start this business, and you just went after it. And so that was 2017. We're now 7 years later.
Yeah.
Almost, right? Is that right?
Yeah. Ish, yeah.
And so you just started, just you. I know maybe you had some partners at the beginning or whatever, but in the field doing the work, just you, one-man show. Or did you immediately have someone in the field with you?
No. So essentially, I was doing anything and everything in the beginning, right? Like when you start a business, you're wearing every hat. in that. And I knew like I didn't want to be 90 years old and crawling under houses and inspecting, plumbing. So I was like, okay, I'm looking at this thing as like a race. Like, how can I grow this as fast as I can? And I had, other than the job at Maxwell House, like I had never done anything remotely similar. And even there, like, you have HR, you have like maintenance staff, you have
recruiters,
you have all these different like support
levels.
Systems. Yep. Okay. Here is like just me. And I literally was just working nonstop, for 15 hours a day for several years to grow it. But about 5-6 months in, I made my first hire, Devin, who and Devin's been with us ever since, and he's
super
amazing.
Cool dude, by the way.
Yeah, incredible person.
Actually, all the guys I run into with your group, and some of them I've known, ironically, some of them I knew before I even met you, and then they're working for you, and I'm like, wow, this is great.
Who's that?
Davin.
Davin. Okay.
Yeah, Davin.
Yep.
And him for sure. I've known him forever, and so like that was just like, no way you work here.
Yeah.
So, and I would say I think I first met you guys in like 2018, 2019. So maybe it was just the two of you still.
Yeah, I mean there's probably 2 or 3 of us.
Because I was like booking appointments, on properties, and it was two. And for me, the attraction was like the professionalism, right? I was looking at different inspectors and kind of I was new myself. I reactivated my real estate license in 2018. So like. After, I
think we connected on Instagram.
Yeah, it was definitely Instagram. Yep. And I didn't want the like inspector with like the clipboard and like the jangly keys, right?
Yeah.
Like,
which was very much the thing. Like when we started the business.
Yeah. Like, it just, nobody, just cell phone, no professionalism. I can go on your website. I can book what we need for our customers. It's seamless. They get notifications. Your staff, if I got a call, right? If I call in for some reason, your staff is great. So just, man, that is awesome to hear. Now, what, being a small business owner, kind of enjoying that and then seeing that growth, what, was it kind of like an exponential? Has it been like a steady slope of growth, or did you hit like year 3, all of a sudden it just exploded out of control?
It's a good question. So like if we're looking back on it, like the actual chart, it's pretty linear. So like in our business, it's hard to hire and train somebody. Like it's really hard to do.
Okay.
And we take about 6 months to train a home inspector.
Wow.
Which is like really long time.
Yeah.
So that's very much been like our bottleneck is like training. We could always get more and more business. Like it was always there. But training somebody was like really the bottleneck of growth. And so what we've done since in the last few years is like, promoted somebody from a home inspector to a manager. And, now like we have a training manager that just, trains any new hires. So instead of like me out in the field, training every single new person and doing everything else that I do, we have more, we have scale. And so we have specialization and everyone kind of does their own part.
Okay.
So we've seen more exponential growth, and I think we will see more and more exponential growth because next year we're going to try to get multi-city. So right now we're kind of doing like a little pilot expansion down into Daytona, which is close enough that we can still support it. But
training purposes or, if business events or whatever, right? You're still close enough. Okay.
Yeah, and like if something happens, like I could still get down there or somebody else can still get down there and like take over an inspection or like handle, whatever the issue is. Okay. But if we're like, so next year, our big goal is like to get to Orlando and Tampa and Tallahassee and Ocala and start really spreading around Florida. Because
super cool.
Yeah, we've built all these systems and like infrastructure that I feel like we operate, more efficiently and better, just produce a better product than most inspection companies out there. So we've kind of told ourselves like we owe it to ourselves and our customers and everybody to keep being able to deliver this product to more and more people.
It's a really good product, and everything from like, the image of the company to seeing you guys in the field and how you do the work and interact. Like, I'm sharing, I guess if I have a client, there's different ways. Sometimes people show up with their own person, but most cases they don't. That's why they're hiring me kind of to like, hey, can you walk with me through this process? And so you guys are always
Yeah, you've worked with a bunch of different inspectors, and so you kind of know, like, oh, I don't want to work with this person. This person is blind, or, you know.
When I get a report that is like in all caps in bold, like just like a Word document with like I can tell they made it on Word and they put on, like, your guys' come as a PDF and we can view it online and there's different segments. Oh my gosh, it makes it such a breeze, right? Yeah. And what I joke sometimes because there is a thing in the home inspection world. You guys are super honest in the field. Sometimes there's an inspector. It's like, wow, this is a great house, most beautiful house, blah, blah, blah. And he'll tell me that because I'm there, but the prospective buyer's not there. And then the report comes and the whole thing's in red. And it's like, you gave us two different impressions. You know? Sure. Like, and so I like getting both. Like, wow, that's exactly what we expected to see in the report. Man, that's a lot of stuff. And then in that time, now you're also raising, you have one kid, a 1-year-old. Yeah. Right. And so you guys have taken that step. How do you think your life has changed? You know, you're a business owner, and then you've got a relationship and all that stuff. And now you have a kid and you're a business owner, and there's these old, like, you know, you have a machine. I know you're like running it, right? Yep. And it takes work. It's not like you're just cruising. Right. But how are you finding balancing, you know, raising a kid and then also running a business? Yeah, it is extremely challenging, man. Yeah. I don't know how you guys do it at your house. You have 4 kids, right? 4 kids. 4 kids, dear Lord. So we'll hopefully have some more at some point, but it's challenging, man. You know, I can't say enough good things about my wife. She works full time too, and you know, she's out there crushing it, and you know, doing the lion's share of raising our child. Yeah. I don't know how the heck she does it. It's a lot, right? My wife she's a great wife, but excellent mom as well. Yeah. And it's just like, and I'm a good dad. I'm sure you're a good dad too, but there's just some, like, if you're just a dad, like, it's like you need that person, you know, we need those good wives and good moms. So we're only that as good as they are, right? I think that's true. You got to get with the right person to kind of, but we don't have to go. Yeah. Get into this will be another like 2 hour long podcast. Part 2 podcast. Yeah, the focus here, man, that's all great stuff. I know we've been talking about 15, 20 minutes or so, a little bit more if we could get into it. You know, what a great story, man. You just kind of taking it a day at a time, right? And you're very just much so enjoying life along the way, and you find yourself here, and it's not on your radar, but yet there's the tools necessary or the opportunities necessary, and you had the tools to kind of like walk through those doors that opened up, right? And so it definitely took work on your end. It's not like Jacksonville was like this magical location that anybody who moves here all of a sudden just like poof, it's done, right? It took work, but the good thing was that you were in a place where the work you put in, you got a return on that investment. Yeah. Right. Which I hear is pretty cool. And so, let's think about this. This is kind of an interesting question. If we're looking back on your life, and maybe you still live in Jacksonville, or maybe maybe your business has grown in Florida and you're traveling a lot more, you find a home base somewhere else, right? But you're traveling around. Sure. If you were looking back, if Jacksonville were a chapter on your life's book, what would the title be for that chapter and why? Oh my goodness. Putting me on the spot. I have no idea how I'm going to answer this. Oh gosh. Okay, I'll take a sip of water while you think. Man, that is such a tough one. I mean, there's been so much packed into I've been here about 10 years now, and there's been so much packed into that time, you know, from previous jobs, like meeting, you know, a ton of great people, friends at the beach, you know, hanging out. Man, I've got these like different communities, like friends from pickleball, spike ball, volleyball, like I know we didn't golf. Even get into all the fun stuff. Yeah. Just like all that kind of stuff. And you know, starting the business and growing it to be the biggest in Jacksonville has been, you know, really fulfilling and fun. I don't know. I guess maybe just exciting. Like that's such a boring word to throw out there, but exciting. That's a tough one. Yeah, I know you're always hitting me up. Like I tell a short story here, which I think is kind of funny. Maybe it's not funny, but you're always hitting me up like, snowboarding trip tomorrow. We're going. I'm like, I have kids, right? I'm like, I have children. Well, like, I'm learning that the hard way now. Guatemala next weekend. I'm like, I can't. I have kids, and then I'm a last minute like procrastinator, like spontaneous. Yeah. So I was telling Shauna, I was like, funny thing is, Kurt had a kid, and I haven't heard from him in a while.
Yeah.
And would you believe, right when I said that, like literally within the hour, a text came through, and you were like, skydiving this afternoon? And I was like, bro, I'm just like, oh, he strikes again. I couldn't believe it.
Man.
It really made me laugh, man.
That's hilarious.
Dude, Kurt, thanks for coming on and taking time to chat with us. Man, I'm sure maybe 6 months down the road, or maybe once in a while, we'll have you back in as a regular guest. Tell us what's going on in your life. Because like I said, we didn't even get into all that fun stuff. A hub for travel, or all your I know you were doing like slam ball tournaments on the beach. You've done all kinds of crazy stuff like that. And so watching you do that has definitely been inspirational, even to me, man. And I know we watch each other. So for listeners, and what is the best way for them to contact you? Either to, have HouseScan out, or if they're looking to like, hey, we need Kurt and his crew to host an event for something like that, what I mean?
So I would say our company line, it's 904-758-9225 if anybody listening needs inspection services in Jacksonville. But then also I would say check out our Instagram page. It's at HouseScanFL, and we're always posting. Well, we're not so great at it anymore, but anyways, always posting like good content and just like crazy findings that we'll find in houses, under houses.
Oh yeah, some of them are pretty funny.
Yeah,
I'm always commenting like kind of like
sarcastically.
Yeah,
I know. So yeah, we'll have like the worst foundation we'll ever see, and Nate's like, wow, 10 out of 10, this is such a great foundation.
Beautiful work.
Yeah, beautiful work.
Love it. Love the DIY.
Yeah. All right. We have fun with it. So.
Well, you heard it there. Thanks so much for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe and give us a like. Let us know you were here, and we'll catch you next time.